Good evening, assalamu alaikum, and a very warm welcome to Visionary Pulse with me, your host Farzana Mayet, a segment which focuses on chatting to game changers and change makers. And tonight is certainly no different as we chat to one such visionary, game changer and change maker. We say a very good evening and a warm welcome to Craig Wilkinson, who is a best-selling South African author, award-winning social entrepreneur, inspirational speaker, positive masculinity and dad coach. He is passionate about the crucial role men and fathers play in the lives of their children and society. He also founded and runs the non-profit organization Father a Nation, whose mission is to restore and equip men to be great fathers, mentors, and role models. Craig has developed outstanding training resources on gender-based violence, positive masculinity, and fatherhood, which are available in written and online formats as well. For his work with men in communities, Craig has also received the first GQ Humanitarian Man of the Year award. As a keynote speaker and facilitator, Craig covers a variety of topics in the areas of positive masculinity, gender-based violence, gender equality, as well as parenting, leadership, and excellence. Craig is also very, very versatile and does a lot of things with non-profit organizations such as mentioned, the Father of the Nation as well, and his mission is to restore men to be great fathers. Craig's belief is that if we can heal men, we can heal the world, and it has seen thousands of men and their families touched by the work of FAN. For his work with men in communities, Craig has been also awarded with the Man of Valor Award as well. We say a very good evening and a warm welcome to Craig Wilkinson. Craig, thank you so much for joining us on Visionary Pulse. It is a pleasure and an honor to have you on our show today. Craig, tell me, what inspired you to dedicate your life to working with men and fathers? It is so different and it's so refreshing to hear of someone wanting to be the change they wish to see.
Well, I think it started with me being a single father. I was a single dad. I had a son and a daughter, and after our divorce, they came to live with me, and just began to realize how short we are of fathers in our nation. You know, we're a very unfathered nation. Upwards of 60% of boys and girls are growing up without a present engaged father, and I just saw the incredible need for that. I became known as the kind of pops in the friendship group of my children. Yeah, in the circle, and that led me to write a book on fatherhood, which I wrote called Dad: How to Be the Father Your Children Need, and then that progressed into another book called It's a Dad, and then just started the non-profit to address the issue of fatherlessness in South Africa. And of course, gender-based violence is massive in our nation.
Yes, absolutely.
So those are the three areas we really focus on: fatherlessness, positive, healthy masculinity, and gender-based violence.
But Craig, this is so unheard of, obviously starting a non-profit organization, showing fathers and dads how to be good dads.
Yes.
This is something that not many people would tend to want to do. Obviously, you've got other things that you're busy with, but you've taken the time to start this. How was it in the beginning? I've got to ask, how was that journey when you said, okay, I'm starting this, but how was it going forward then?
Well, we started 15 years ago, and at that point, it wasn't a very popular topic. You know, the whole issue there was this whole thing of the hashtag men are trash and toxic masculinity, and there was a whole thing of bring a girl, a lot of empowerment of women, which is fantastic. I'm all for it, but very little for men.
And that's the thing, Craig. I feel there's very little being done for men. And that's why on Visionary Pulse I decided to showcase the men that are willing to make that difference as well.
Which is fantastic that you did it, yeah? I mean, it's not many women honoring men who do things for men. But the weird thing is that the more we fix and heal men and equip them to be good men, the more women benefit, the more children benefit, the more society benefits,
that is imperative.
And that's why we believe heal men, heal the world, I mean, if we have good, present, engaged fathers, mentors, role models, husbands, society gets fixed. There's no doubt about it, And so that was the passion that drove it.
And Craig, when you had this realization, did you talk to family about it? That, look, I'm going to start this. And what was their reactions like? I'm asking this because there's so many of our viewers out there that would want to maybe start a journey, start a revolution, want to be the change like yourself that they wish to see. And then they, no. What are my family going to think?
Right.
What am I going to be met with? Did you think of any of those things?
Well, often the biggest detractors from what we want, God has put in our hearts to do are close family members. Don't do that, you won't do that, And you've got to just follow what God has put in your heart. You've got to follow the passion and follow the conviction and do it, because that's the gift inside.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so Craig, was there a defining moment that led you to the founding of Father of the Nation?
There was. There really was. It was a letter my son wrote me.
Oh, wow.
When he turned 18, he wrote me a letter, and it was an absolute tearjerker. It started, "Dear Dad, I just want to," and I didn't ask him for this. He just gave it to me, he said, "I just want to thank you for being my best friend, my brother, but most importantly, my father."
Oh,
And he went on to, it was a tearjerker. I mean, one of those letters you read and you just,
the tears are just coming out.
And he went on to say, he said, "I consider myself the most fathered human on earth," he said. And then he said, "You can bring this to the rest of the unfathered world." This is my 18-year-old son writing this to me. It was the best gift I've ever received. And that led me to say, well, maybe I should do this. It was certainly on my heart.
This is something I can do, yeah.
This is something I can do. And that sparked something huge in me. And I had already been working in the economic development area in a lot of townships and communities that were really impoverished, and saw the need, saw that a lot of men, you drive through Alexander now, you drive through Diepsloot, there are just so many men on the side of the road wanting to contribute, but there's no opportunity. They've knocked on 1,000 doors. So the letter of my son and also seeing these men just came together, and I thought, let me do something.
Absolutely incredible, Craig. So you often speak about purpose, Craig. How did you discover your purpose? Like you said, through the letter, yes, one, but what led you to discover your true purpose in calling in, deciding to know? There's much more that needs to be done here.
I think purpose is always linked to passion and gifting. I've always had a tremendous passion to... I hate bullying of any sort. I hate abuse. I absolutely cannot stand that. And gender-based violence is basically the misuse of power. It's someone who's, "I'm stronger than you, therefore I can," and I hate that. It just, so I think looking for your purpose, find out what makes you very angry.
Okay.
What makes you very excited.
Okay.
Where your passion lies, what you're passionate to fight against. And then also circumstances, lead to that. So I think it's a confluence of all those. Someone once said that your passion is where your deep joy or your deep gladness meets the world's deep hunger. And I had a tremendous gladness and passion and joy in being a father and raising and nurturing my children, protecting them. And saw a tremendous hunger in the world for that, and so my great passion and gladness met the world's deep hunger, and it's a natural mix.
Brilliant. So you've said that fathers do play a crucial role in society. So what happens, Craig, when that role is missing? Because there's so many sons that are not as lucky as yours were.
Sons and daughters, both boys and girls need both mothers and fathers.
Yes.
For different
Present
reasons.
Mothers and fathers.
Present mothers and fathers.
Yes.
Present, engaged, loving, good,
Absolutely.
So the mother can inflict tremendous wounds on the children by being overprotective, by being absent, and so can the father. The wound that a mother inflicts is generally a wound of overprotecting, smothering, overloving,
The helicopter parent.
The helicopter parent. That's where you get the mommy's boy, you get the kids who can't do anything for themselves because mom's always done it. The wound that a father inflicts is more a wound of absence or abuse. I always say both boys and girls need both mothers and fathers. And mothers can wound their kids and fathers can wound their kids. But generally mothers are present. In South Africa,
Yes.
Mothers are in the home, but fathers are often not. And so the wound that a mother often inflicts or can inflict is generally one of over-loving. Helicopter parent, being too involved, smothering, and so you raise kids that cannot do anything for themselves because mommy always did it. So there's almost a neediness in the mom. And I mean, that's the kind of wound that a mom can inflict. A father's wound is often more a wound of absent or abusive or modeling the wrong things, So if a father is emotionally absent from a girl or a father is abusive to the mother, then the girl will grow up thinking, well, that's normal. That's normal,
It's acceptable.
Yeah,
Yes.
It's acceptable. So, I'm going to marry a man, and chances are she'll be attracted to a man with similar traits and accept the fact that this is how love is. Love is abusive. So the father sets the bar for what a man is for the girl to accept. The father models to the son what it means to be a man. So how he validates his son, how he treats his mother, how he treats other women, how he lives his life as a man, shows to the young boy this is what masculinity is all about. He takes his cue from that. So 2 key messages that or things that a father does for a son. Number 1, he validates the son.
Yes.
You see, the biggest wound that men carry is a wound of inadequacy. I'm not
Okay.
enough. And that's why you find men behaving very badly. Because I feel I'm not enough, I have to prove myself. So how do I
Okay,
prove
so they're
myself?
tough, strong.
I'm tough, strong, but also, I sleep around because, masculinity is about having multiple partners. Masculinity is about money and power. Masculinity is about big boys don't cry. So all these wrong messages about, seeking validation. Now, if a father validates his son and says, son, you're the man. You don't have to play the man to be the man you are. He validates his son. He says, son, you've got what it takes. The son grows up thinking, well, I don't have to prove this. I know who I am. So the father gives the son validation, he gives the son identity, and he also gives the son lessons and teaching and modeling about what it means to be a man. So if the father's able to be sensitive and caring, the son realizes, as a man, I can be vulnerable. It's fine.
It's perfectly okay.
It's perfectly okay. The father demonstrates resilience and responsibility and provision. Then the son grows up thinking, well, that's what men do. If the father's loving and caring and nurturing to the mother and to other women, the son thinks, well, that's how men behave. And what the father does is he sets boundaries for the son. When the son disrespects the mother, the father says, hey, boys don't do that,
Yeah, and they're already showing them that, listen, it's not okay.
It's not okay. So the discipline's there, young boys grow up with testosterone, and young boys grow up and they want to do wild things and crazy. They're very different to young girls, and the father needs to set those guardrails in place.
So the role of a father is extremely imperative.
Absolutely essential, yeah. And in the absence of a biological father, a grandfather, an uncle, male teachers, coaches, the village of men can do that. Stepdads can often step in and play that role. So a young boy needs older men in his life to teach him what it means to be a man.
Well said, Craig. So what are some of the common misconceptions about masculinity that you challenge?
Well, I mean,
you're laughing so.
No, because it's a very good question. For me, there are 5 key ones. And it's sex, power, money, big boys don't cry, and men are trash. These are narratives boys grow up. So sex is, the more I need to have multiple women in my life. I need to be sexy and virulent, And so you often have, and we've got double standards in society. When a man sleeps around, he's the man. When a woman does, she's,
Yes, she's classed in a different way.
Exactly, yeah. But it's a false narrative, So in terms of this, the more faithful one man is to one woman, that's true masculinity,
Yes, absolutely.
A man that can say no, even when temptation comes, that's true masculinity. A man, often
That's
say...
showing through power that say, look, I'm tempted, but it's not for me.
Absolutely. Well, I say, I hope you don't mind me saying this on TV, but your erection is not your direction. For a man, it's not your hormones are not what drives you. What drives you is faithfulness, fidelity, loyalty. So that's the one thing we dispel. Power, So men often feel like I have to be powerful. It's about my biceps and about this. And whereas really what makes a man is not how much power he has, but what does he do with the power that he does have. If he's a politician, does he use that to serve his constituency? Or does he use it to take? Money. Money is important. We need it. We need to do everything we can to support and feed our families. But if you don't have it for a while, or you're unemployed for a while, it doesn't make you less of a man. If you are stepping up and taking, so money, your car doesn't make you a man. You lose your car doesn't mean you lose your manhood. Big boys don't cry. It's a big misconception. So vulnerability is not weakness. Weakness is
Craig,
weakness.
I'm sorry to stop you right there. How do we, as a society, I would say, not only as mom and dads, how do we stop that misconception right here to say, look, boys don't cry, or big boys don't cry, you're not allowed to cry? How do we stop this at the bottom or in the house to say, listen, this is okay. It's perfectly okay to show emotions. It's perfectly okay to cry. It's perfectly okay not to be okay. And this is your safe haven where you can cry, where you can let out your emotions. How do we as parents start that from today?
Well, the man in the house has to model that, Because if mom models emotions to the son, the son can always say, well, that's a woman.
Okay, I get you.
Yeah, so
that's why she's allowing me to cry, because she cries.
because she cries, women cry, women are this, but a man needs to show him that it's okay. But there are 2 sides to masculinity, and this is so important. The one side is the warrior, where you, and that's when you don't cry, when you step up and stand up and take it on the chin and make things happen,
Right.
But that's only half of it. The other half of masculinity is the ability to be vulnerable, to be nurturing, to be caring, to be emotionally literate, and men need to model both of those. So for instance, if we're going through a tough time and my daughter needs me to be her rock, that's not a good time for me to cry. That's a time when I hide my tears and I'm strong for her. But another time might come when we're watching an emotional movie with my daughter, and then I'm able to show tears and emotions because she doesn't need me to be the rock then. Are you with me? So
exactly.
It's about appropriate showing of...
Emotion.
So that's why I say vulnerability is not weakness. Weakness is weakness. Weakness is, I can't take it, I'm not, vulnerability is the ability to show emotions and the ability to show that I'm going through pain. That's appropriate.
So it's very important we differentiate between
Very,
the two.
very much
and
so,
thank
yeah.
you for highlighting that, Craig. So how closely linked is fatherlessness to issues like gender-based violence and crime?
Sure, it's inextricably linked. There's a lot of very good stats coming out of the US which links fatherlessness to almost every social ill. So early teenage pregnancy in girls, runaways, drug abuse,
Right.
Incarceration, anger management, rape. The link is just undeniable and very, very clear. The kids with present engaged good fathers fare way better than when that's not the case, unless there is a substitute, an uncle or a group of men or a sporting code or something where men are involved and engaged, but the link is undeniable. And it's not the fault of the present mother, it's the fault of the absent father.
100%. So Craig, how do we shift the narrative from blaming men to empowering men to be part of the solution? How do we change that narrative?
It's a very crucial question, because if we label men trash or men toxic, chances are they're going to pitch up to be toxic and trash because
because the world thinks of
the
me
world,
that's
who they are.
Defined me as that.
Exactly, so I'm going to do it. So we need to change the narrative and say masculinity is a beautiful gift to humanity.
Yes.
So is femininity. We've got to move from an either or to a both and mentality. The same applies to race. The same applies to any kind of equality. It's not one or the other. It's both and. We all need each other. And so if we say, so if women empowerment mustn't stop, we must continue absolutely doing that, which is something you do wonderfully. We mustn't stop that,
Yes.
But it's not just that and then we leave men behind, we got to do both.
Absolutely.
So we got to say, and I start this with a lot of young men, I say, young man, you are a gift to the world, but you can choose to be a curse. The choice is in your hands. So if we change the narrative around and saying masculine is a good thing, we don't have to fix men. We don't have to fix men. We just have to teach them how to be men.
How to be men.
Because good, men who are whole and healthy and good, what a gift to society. And masculinity and femininity co-create. I exist today because a man got together with a woman and they conceived me. You exist because your father and your mother got together and they conceived you. The creative power of the man and the woman working together. And that's how the world operates. So both are absolutely necessary. And it's not like men have a turn and then women have a turn. No. We both equally have a turn, playing our different roles. So we have to begin to preach that and to teach that and to model that and to get that out on media, which is something you're doing beautifully. So well done to you.
Thank you so much, Craig. Through Father a Nation, what impact have you seen in the lives of men and families?
Amazing impact. A lot of men, we run a lot of programs for men. And one of the things we do is we get men together in small groups and we talk. We allow them to talk. And a lot of the men, in their 40s, 50s, 60s say, I'm telling this story for the first time in my life. They've never had the opportunity. So that produces tears and healing and restoration. And then we teach what I call the 6-pack of masculine virtues. We teach positive masculinity. So many men go back to their families, back to their communities, and they're transformed because suddenly their emotional burdens are, there's a relief, there's a healing there. When you heal emotions, you get rid of anger, the need for revenge, bitterness, all these negative emotions. And when you teach positive masculinity, men now know how to behave with their families. So we've had many stories of women saying, wow, since my husband or my partner went on this course, he's a different man. There's no longer verbal abuse or physical abuse. There have been tremendous...
So there is certain changes that's happening.
Absolute changes. We've
That's
had men
brilliant to hear, Craig.
go back and reconnect with children that they've not connected with for ages, So they become better fathers, better husbands, better brothers, better citizens. We've had some very good results. And it's not an instant fix, it's an ongoing journey.
It's a work in progress.
We've also had men in communities, as a result of our interventions, spontaneously continue to meet as men to discuss how to be good men and help each other. So there's been a tremendous impact.
Okay, so Craig, if any of our viewers or if a man wants to change but doesn't know where exactly to start, what would your advice be to our viewers out there? That somebody out there wants to change but don't know where to start.
Well, I mean, the first thing to do is to look in the mirror and say, well, is there anything in me? Are there habits that I'm engaging in which are negative, destroying me and destroying my family, you know? I mean, things like pornography, things like drinking, you know, I mean, is there anything, anger? You know, first look in the mirror. Secondly, say, okay, I'm intentionally going to seek out, I'm going to go on an intentional journey to fix this.
Yes,
and then it's got to be intentional. So you see the problem, then you become intentional, and then you seek out help. Now, there's a lot of stuff out there, a lot of YouTube clips, a lot of mentors that you never even meet, books that you can read, programs you can go on, the Mankind Project. There's so many different projects. So as soon as you become intentional, you start seeking out the kind of help you need. It might be just a friend that you open up to and share for the first time. You might seek out a Father of a Nation program. You might pick up a book that someone's written about how to be a good man. You know, you might say, well, I actually need some professional help and go for counseling, you know. But the key is intentionality to deal with, you know, if drinking is an issue to you, you go to an Alcoholics Anonymous, you know, you seek out the help you need to deal with what you need to deal with.
Okay. And to boys growing up without father figures, what would your advice be to them?
Firstly, you've got to say it's not my fault. You know,
Absolutely.
It's not the situation I'm in is not my fault. You know, it's something. Secondly, seek out good mentors. Find good men.
Yeah,
you know,
I think that's an imperative point.
Very much, and that's why sport plays such a crucial role. You know, many coaches are great guys that are just coaching
And
young
good
boys,
mentors.
and they learn discipline, and they work, you know how to apply, and they get a purpose in life. Scouts, you know, there's so many different ways one could seek out mentors. Find the right kind of mentors on YouTube clips. You've got terrible ones, you know, the Manosphere, you know, you've got the Andrew Tate type, you know, but you've also got good men out there that are teaching and promoting good masculinity.
And inculcating great behavior as well.
Absolutely.
Okay, Craig, I want to thank you so much for joining me. But before you go, please tell our viewers one motivational quote that you ascribe to.
One motivational quote. There's so many. One I love is, maybe you are the leader you've been waiting for.
Oh, that is absolutely brilliant. And that I think so many of the viewers will be able to attest by.
Yeah, absolutely. Another very crucial one is, the most important relationship you have on earth is the one you have with yourself. So make sure that's healthy. Make sure that the videos that play inside your head and the narratives are healthy and kind and good to yourself.
Brilliantly said. Craig, I want to thank you so much for joining me on Visionary Pulse.
Great pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So that brings us to another segment of Visionary Pulse with me, your host, Farzana Mayet. Join me next week as I chat to another visionary game changer and change maker. Good evening. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.